Stilicho and the Roman Empire's last hope. It had become winter 401 AD, and the Western Roman Empire, mainly in the north of Italy, had become invaded by the barbarian tribes of the Visigoths. Flavius Stilicho was 36 years old with grey hair. The hardship and stress from having led his legionaries into countless battles had aged him in early years. He had proved himself to be an exemplary military leader, and this was a time when Rome needed someone to save itself from its destruction, as it had slowly started to crumble since the division of the once united empire into West and Eastern Rome. His father was a Vandal from the Scandinavian regions, still today it's unknown which one, and his mother was a Roman native. Stilicho began his career in the Roman imperial military in his teenage years and quickly showed himself to be very confident and inspiring to many amongst his peers. Because of his exemplary way and strong leadership, he was uplifted to the rank of tribune of the cavalry. In the year 385 AD, did Emperor Theodosius grant him the honorary post of belonging to the Comes Domesticorum, the successor version of the once Praetorian Guards, the Emperor's personal bodyguards. A few years prior to the Emperor's death, in 395 AD, he gave Stilicho the highest command over all Western Roman imperial forces. With the death of the Emperor, Stilicho was given the complete control over the Western Empire and hence became the new emperor. In 395 AD did the Visigoths elect a new king. His name was Alaric and was only 25 years old. Under the new king, Alaric and the Visigoths, who had invaded from what is the area known as Ukraine in today, had forced Roman settlers to flee to south and west. The Visigoths had taken away the lands of Thrace, Greece and Pannonia, along with Illyrium, basically most of the Balkans. In 401 AD, Alaric led an army through the Alps into northern Italy in a surprise move. A Roman army was fast put together and both sides met in the Battle of Tmobile near Trieste, where the Romans were ultimately crushed. Alaric and his barbarian forces quickly sacked cities and villages across the northern Italian lands. When the news of the Visigoths had reached Stilicho, who was in Vindelicia, that's part of what is known today as Switzerland, where he had battled against invading Ostrogothic barbarian forces. With the invasion by Alaric, other barbarian tribes in former Gaul and Hispania along from the regions of Germania used this news to their advantage and began invading from all fronts into the unstable Western Empire. Stilicho was forced to recall the only remaining legions from the Germania and northern Imperial Britannia regional borders to come to the Rome's defense. In all kinds of weather, Stilicho and his legions marched day and night until they finally had reached Milan. There, Stilicho did not wait when dawn came upon the horizon, and together with his cavalry, without the remaining legionaries at hand, he attacked the nearby Visigoth camp. Stilicho came fast and drew his sword, cutting down arms and heads left and right as he crushed the barbarian horde. The Roman soldiers inside the surrounded city of Milan saw his attack and came out to his defense. In time, the news of the approaching legions led Alaric to realize that he could not continue his sacking of the Italian peninsula and retreat back to his lands. However, this is what he had been told from his closest, and he instead decided to face the Romans and continue until he would die in Italy. As the time passed by, it eventually became April 6th, and both leaders and their armies would once again face each other on the battlefield. It eventually ended in total defeat for Alaric, who escaped. Without caring for the Visigoths' leftover looted gold and other valuables on the roads, the legions did not care for them, but instead for bloodlust to once and for all put an end to Alaric and his barbarians for their sacking and invasion of their homeland. As Alaric and his barbarians were on their retreat, with all their gained gold and valuables, along with their family members captured into slaves by the Romans, the morale was low. The men wanted Alaric to fight Stilicho once again, but he refused, leading to a large part of his army leaving, some even joining up with the Roman legions. By the end of the summer, the forces of Alaric had fully stopped being a threat on the Italian mainland and were in full retreat. The hero was Stilicho, who once again had saved their empire and Rome from falling to the barbarian forces. With his great victory over Alaric, Stilicho was met in Rome by a cheering massive crowd and joyful gratitude for saving them and their empire. Unfortunately, Stilicho was arrested by the new emperor Honorius in Ravenna on August 23, 408 AD for apparently plotting to remove the emperor. This indeed led to the last great Roman general was no more, and the end of the once mighty Roman Empire would be no more. For in 410 AD, Alaric, the king of the Visigoths, finally managed to sack Rome. The last hero of Rome, the mighty city, its legions it once had created, and the western lands it had conquered was no more. This was the beginning of the Dark Age of Europe, and the last surviving remnants of the once mighty empire lied to the far east that would be known eventually as the Byzantine Empire.